Don't miss a beat, join the notification squad by clicking that bell. You'll get notified every time I upload a video, and be sure to join our Discord to talk and get help with your code.
Hello everyone, my name is Sebastian and welcome back to a brand new video on SourceCode channel. I will be doing a new series on here called JavaScript tutorials, where you will be learning a lot of stuff about JavaScript and mainly how to use that stuff. Be sure to drop a like if you enjoy it, and let's get right into it. So before we can make JavaScript code and learn to program, we first need a text editor. I will be using brackets, which you can see right here. Another option is Atom, which is a really popular text editor. Then there's Sublime Text and Visual Studio Code. I'll be sticking with brackets since it has live preview, which is useful for testing a lot. It's mainly for web development, but JavaScript does the job. So let's just get right into it. So I will be using Google Chrome's developer tools to access console. So we can just link our code with HTML file and then run it in our browser. So to do this, we first need to create our index.html file. Now this is just how you normally create a file. So to link our sketch file with our HTML file, we first need to type doctype HTML. Then create an HTML tag, a header tag, or a head tag, and then create a script with the source of. I've created a file called sketch.js, so I can just link it right here. If you haven't already, just create that file and you'll be right set. So when I run this using brackets live preview, we will see that our page will load. I can access console and we will see that we have nothing yet. And this is because we haven't actually created anything. So in the first tutorial, I will be teaching you how to make functions, how to declare variables, and how to log values into console. We will start with logging values into console, since this is a really useful tool to know how to use. So to log a value into console, you need to type console.log, and then we can have something inside of these parentheses. So we can do a string, a number, and we can put in variables and that kind of stuff. But first of all, you need to know how to log a string. So this is done by putting either single quotes or double quotes, and then you type in what you want to be printed into console. So I will be typing hello world. So if we do this, we will see in console that we will have hello world. So we can see that when we type console.log, we will see what we put inside of a parentheses in console. Now we can change this to a number. So let's say 5, which a number doesn't take any quotes or double quotes. It's just a single digit. So if we do that, we can see that the number 5 gets put into console. So this is useful for a lot of debugging and that kind of stuff. But right now we always run this code immediately. So we don't wait for something. As soon as the browser loads, we just run this code and that's it. We can't run it again unless we refresh or start our code again. So to make our code run multiple times, we need to create a function. So a function is something in JavaScript that makes code run as its own type when it's called. So to declare function, we type function, and then we can give it a name. So I will be calling it hello. And then we put 2 parentheses at the end, which can take in a variable. I'll be going over that later, but for now we would just put curly brackets, then you press enter, and you have a nice function. Now in this function we can put the same code that we could put outside of the function, but functions have a whole lot of other stuff that's really useful. So let's say we move our console.log into here and we put in a string hello. We will see that nothing will happen yet. So if we run it, we will see 5 still gets printed into console, but our hello code doesn't. This is because we don't actually call the function. So a function has to be called before it can be executed. So if we say hello, which is the name of our function, then put empty parentheses around it, we will see that that hello will be printed into console. Now this is used for a lot of stuff. So we can call code multiple times without duplicating the code. So if we put another hello after it, we will see it gets printed twice. Even though we've only put a one console.log hello, we will still get two hellos since we call the function twice. So another thing that you can do in JavaScript is declare variables. And variables hold a certain value or a certain information that they can provide to you if you ask for it. So there are three ways to declare a variable in JavaScript. One of them is const, the other one is let, and the last one is var. I will not be going over var right now since it's really something that you don't have to use ever in JavaScript unless you really know what you're doing. There are certain circumstances where it's really useful, but if you don't know what you're doing, you shouldn't just touch it since it's really the weakest way to declare variable in JavaScript. I'll be going over it later in a different episode on how const, let, and var work differently. But const and let are two ways to declare a variable. So const is a constant variable. This means that once we declare it in the code, we can't change it again, neither can we reassign it. Now we can change it in the source code, but we can't change it from outside. So if we remove let and we just type our name, so you declare a variable with the keyword, so const or let, then the name of the variable, so we will be calling it variable 1. Then we put an equal sign and we say my name is Sebastian YN. So right now variable 1 will hold the value Sebastian YN. This cannot be changed since we declared it as a constant variable, but we can use it in our code. So in here we can remove the exclamation mark and we can put plus and then we put variable 1. So right now we have hello and we end the string, we put a plus and we add variable 1 at the end. So right now we have the string hello and then it takes our variable 1 code, which is Sebastian YN, and it puts it at the end. So if we go back to console, we will see hello Sebastian YN. So as you can see, instead of typing it in right here, we can actually declare a variable at the top of our code or inside a function to use. But there's a thing about constant variables, which is that they can't be changed. So if we type variable 1 and we say equal 5, so we set variable 1 equal to 5, which would theoretically change Sebastian YN the string to the number 5, we will see that it will give the error assignment to a constant variable. So we can see that we can't actually reassign the variable 1 to something else. Now there is a way to do this with the let variable. So if we say let variable 1 equals Sebastian YN and we declare variable 1 as 5, we would see hello 5. So we have our variable, we say hey variable 1 is Sebastian YN. Then when we run the function, we will say variable 1 is 5. And after that we log variable 1, which is now 5. Now if we were to put in variable 1 at the top before we run the function, we will see it will log Sebastian YN. And this is because it doesn't actually change the value until we have ran this function. So first we log the value into console, which is still Sebastian YN. Then we run the function, which will say variable 1 equals 5. Now when declaring this variable, we actually assign it to the variable itself. So it isn't just a placeholder, so inside of this function, variable 1 will be 5. We actually set variable 1 to 5. So if we run the function even once, we can remove this function call, and we say console.log variable 1, instead of it being Sebastian YN as up here, we actually run the function set variable 1 equal to 5, and then when we run the console.log again, we'll actually see that we'll log 5. So another thing we can do in JavaScript is actually put in a value to our function. So instead of declaring a variable right here and then using it in our code, we can actually change it to something like name. So right now we will log hello name, but we haven't declared name yet. So how do we declare name? We can actually remove variable 1 now, and we can put in our side of our parentheses name. So now we have out of nowhere declared a variable that we can use inside of our function. So we say function hello takes in a name, and then we log name. But when we do this, we will see that we'll log undefined. This is because we haven't said what name should be. So like, I don't know what it should be. I'll just give it undefined. You haven't told me what it should be. So when we call the function, we can actually pass in an argument. So for instance, when we say my name, we will see that it will call the function. It will pass on Sebastian YN to name, and then name will be Sebastian YN, and we will log Sebastian in console. So when we do this, it will say hello Sebastian. So we don't just have to stick with one variable that we can pass in, but we can add an unlimited amount of variables into our function. So when we, for instance, add age, which we do by adding a comma and then another variable name, we can put plus is, and then we can put in age years old. So right now we say hello, then we take the name, and we say is, take the age, years old. So when we put in a random number like 86, it will log in console hello Sebastian, since name is Sebastian, is age is 86 years old. So we go into console, we will see hello Sebastian is 86 years old. So we can not only log values into console, but we can also pass in variables, and we can create functions to run specific kinds of code. Now without changing the actual function, I can call it again, but put in a different name. For instance, Mark, and the age is 25. And when we run this, we will see hello Sebastian is 86 years old, hello Mark is 25 years old. So we call the function twice with two different variables in each one, and we can run the same code twice without actually having to type the code twice. So if you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next episode.